What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Pixel Perspective Podcast. My name is JJ, and I'm here with my good friend Adrian. Adrian, what's going on, man? Happy New Year.
Same to you. How was your Christmas, New Year break?
It was
They
good.
all run together.
I had a bunch of family. I had a bunch of Family Guy. I had a bunch of family in town, and so just kind of hung out with family. I got to show a bunch of them my video game collection, which is always fun. Schooled a handful of them in Smash Brothers, which was even more fun. And just hung out with the family. And New Year's I took it easy. I didn't do much on New Year's like that night, but the following day I was with some friends and we played board games for a few hours, which was a good time. What about you?
Fun. So it's a blur.
That drunk,
yeah,
huh?
it was great. We had a lot going on. There was different people's houses, different family members' houses, Christmas Eve, Christmas Day, day after Christmas. It was fun though. I mean, I had a good time. We definitely exhausted ourselves, and luckily though I had the entire last week off and today, so I go back to work officially tomorrow, and that's let me tell you, that's been incredible as far as like a good reset for myself, just to end of the year, take a break, and bring back that motivation, so I'm excited to get back into it.
I do find it funny that like you like when you have a weekend and then your Monday comes up and you're like, oh god, I just don't want to go back. I'm not ready. This sucks. But when you have that like good solid vacation, like, and it could be any length, but you've had a good solid vacation when you say to yourself, all right, I'm ready to go back, and you're ready to go back. That's such a good feeling. Like I mean, it always sucks to go back to work, but at least like mentally you're at least there, as opposed to just being off for 2 days where in the back of your mind you're like, oh, it's coming and I don't want to go back, so it's pretty cool.
Vacations are important. I think more people need to
sure.
utilize the time given to you. Take that PTO, you owe yourself a mental break.
I hit 3 years at my job this year, and I'm getting another week to my
nice.
Normal time off for the year, but I'm also carrying over a week and a half, so I have quite a bit of PTO this year, so I'm pretty excited. Should
be a good relaxing year then.
The only thing though is that I worry that the main reason I have that extra week and a half is because I didn't take that time last year. Which means I have a habit of not necessarily taking PTO. This is the only job I've had where I haven't done that. So I think there's something to be said for that, because the freaking my past jobs, I burned that stuff every single year and never carried hardly anything over. Maybe a day, if that, just because I was like, I can't. So I think there's something to be said for that. I don't hate my job, so I'm happy about that, at least.
That is good. That is great.
You getting in any game time? What you been playing?
Yeah, so my list of games that I've been playing it's not anything exciting. It's all things that I've talked about. This month I've kind of taken not a break. I played a lot of video games, but I've been bouncing around between games that I've not finished, and trying to whittle away at all of them all at once. As you know, my gameplay style is I can't stick with one game for too long. I've got to change it up a little bit. So what I've been playing primarily, though, the only game that I will say that I've been playing like all the time is Marvel Snap. I am so addicted to that game, man. I play it daily, if not like multiple times a day. It does. It's just so easy for me to pick up my phone, spend a quick 2 minutes, play through a game, and then be done, and then pick it up. Just it's kind of like my social media.
It is pretty cool. I'm just not big on mobile gaming, but I have tried it. It is actually a pretty cool game. Yeah,
it's great. I love it. It's very exciting, especially when you get in a really close match with somebody, and You end up winning by, you know, or I had a match today where I was going to win this match. There was no way I was going to lose this match. And then this guy plays a Magneto card, which I've never seen before. And that Magneto card takes all of your 4, 5, and 6 cost cards and moves them over to where the Magneto is. And he moved all my cards over. I know this doesn't make any sense to anybody who hasn't played Marvel Snap, but basically he turned the tide of that game on the very last turn and beat me. I couldn't believe it. It was crazy. It's like moments like that happen that I love.
And he's probably telling his podcast that same story about how he came back from nowhere.
Exactly, dude. That's how it is. And it's fun unlocking new cards and upgrading your cards. They don't gain any abilities, but it's all visual stuff. It's still fun. But they've got so many different characters to unlock. It just keeps me going. So that's been the one I've been playing the most. But I've also been playing a lot of Elden Ring this month.
I saw you on there. Yeah.
I never finished it. And, you know, it's one of those games, and I've told you before, like I can keep going back and replaying, or not replaying, but continuing to play it. I've reached a bit of a wall right now. And I can't figure out how to beat this boss. And I can't find anybody to summon to help me beat this boss. And it's the fire giant. I'm sure you remember the fire giant.
Yeah, where you have to like you have to hit his legs or something, right?
Right. And he's got a face on his torso that spews fire out. He's got like 2 phases. He's basically, and he's up in the snow mountain area, and he's basically patrolling this area.
Dude, that one is so easy to cheese. Oh my gosh. Oh, it's so easy.
How do you cheese it then?
Man.
I've looked for cheese.
It's a glitch. But if you can get him to fall off the cliff, he like dies.
I don't even know how to get him close to the cliff to fall off.
You have to be, it's not even really a cliff, but it's one of the ledges that's in the area. But like there's tons of videos on YouTube. I can send you one later. But it literally, like, you hide behind a rock that's on the lower portion, and you have to guide him around to where he's on the top portion. And eventually he'll try to make his way down to where you are, and he'll just fall off. And it's like a, 15, 20-foot drop. But according to the coding, it's like a massive cliff that ends his life. So, yeah.
Well, here's the other thing. A lot of patches have come out since when you.
If that's patched, then yeah, I'm sorry. That's rough, because that's a tough.
I found another cheese method where you can get behind the invisible wall and get past them that way, but that's been patched out. So I haven't seen that one though. So I'm guessing the reason I haven't seen it is probably because it's been patched out, but I'll double check it and see. But I mean, yeah, if I could get people in there to help me, I think I would have a better time with this. But I'm a mage, and he requires, for the best approach, he requires you to be at his feet, and I don't do much damage at his feet, so it's harder for me to do anything to him. I've gone in and helped a couple of people fight him, and I never beat him. We got really close, but yeah, I haven't beaten this guy at all. So he frustrated me.
Does he not still play anymore?
His time is limited now these days. And even then, I don't think he's as far as I am. So yeah, I'm kind of by myself. That's all right.
I'll get to the point where you're stuck in a corner, just let me know. I still have it installed on my machine, so I can hop in at any point too.
I might take you up on that, because it's I'm gonna try it a few more times, see if I can do it by myself, but I can't, then yeah, I'll bring you in.
All right, sounds good.
I've also been playing a lot of Tactics Ogre still. I probably got 20 hours into that game so far, and I think it's close to the 40-50 hour game. That game is so good, man. It's scratching, I know I said this the last time, but it's scratching that Final Fantasy Tactics itch for me so hard right now. I love it. Highly recommend you get to that one sooner than later. I think you'll like it. But and the storyline is great, especially for being somebody who loves stories. The storyline is great.
I think you'll have something else to scratch that Final Fantasy Tactics itch pretty soon as well.
With
I think they're going to
Divinity.
be announcing a Final Fantasy Tactics remaster for
Oh,
consoles pretty soon. Yeah, that's
what?
my assumption. There's the I think it was Katase basically like teased. We have another big Final Fantasy announcement this year coming out that has nothing to do with any of the games that are already out. So get ready for that. Um, so people are speculating it's either the like how people were like guessing that they had like a Final Fantasy 9 remake in development or Final Fantasy Tactics remaster, and I think it's the latter. I would venture to that would be where I put my money.
I would agree with you,
So
especially seeing the success of Tactics Ogre. I think that
right.
game did really well for them. It make a lot of sense, and I think it would take minimal effort on their part to port that over.
Another SE store exclusive. Yay.
Yeah, really.
You're not wrong. Man. Did anybody I don't know if did anybody I was just about to ask that. Yeah, Stu in the chat. He says was that before or after the Pixel remaster debacle? Um did anybody here in chat or Adrian, did any of you guys get any of the physical copies of Pixel remaster?
So I didn't, and the only reason I didn't is because I really believe they're going to bring those over, and I don't want to order it from the Square Enix store.
That's fair. What do you mean bring those over?
Like it'll be available on Amazon and stuff like that, or Play
Oh,
Asia at the
I
very
see what you're
least.
saying.
I don't think it's going to be exclusive to the Square Enix store.
Yeah. I was fortunate enough to like I wake up randomly in the middle of the night all the time because I have a cat who likes to wander around and make noise and climb on me while I'm asleep. So I had woken up at like 1 o'clock that morning, or 1:30, something like that, and just happened to randomly check my phone and it had just gone live on the store. And I was like, oh sweet. So I hit it and I got the Switch Collector's Edition, the big one. I am not I think it is overpriced, but
Very.
I don't think it's not more than I'm personally willing to spend as a massive Final Fantasy fan, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
I think my biggest issue just comes from the like dropping it at that time with no prior notice, and then like doing like what 2 restocks after that were like within very short windows anyway, so it really didn't even
Mhm.
matter. It was just a complete debacle. Like you said, it's rough. Um, yeah. I
I
got the Switch
really
Collector's Edition. I
wish.
hate myself for it. Yeah, no, I went back and forth between that and the PS4. I'm gonna get the PS4 version digitally so I can get the trophies on the games. But I think the Switch Collector's Edition honestly just looks better on the shelf. That's why I picked that one up. So
I wish it was a better offering or a cheaper bundle. I mean,
yeah,
none of that stuff is appealing to me at all.
I think the
Granted, I
physical
have
editions are more for fans anyway. So
well, yeah, yeah. I don't have the nostalgia that you have for those
yeah,
first 6 games, so it doesn't. I don't know. It's $300, and the best thing I saw in there was like a vinyl record.
right.
Um, yeah, it was just that's a lot.
It's a lot. It is like even the base games, just the regular copy, $75, which to me that even seems high. I would say 60 is probably what they should have charged for it. But again,
Yeah,
as a fan, I would still be willing to pay that. But I get the outrage, like completely
I
understand
still
it.
think I really really think this is Square we're talking about. They're going to they're going to make this more widely available, and I'm more than okay with waiting that out. I don't know. I want to play the games, and I will eventually. And actually, I will talk about one of them later. Um, but yeah, it's cool that they're finally bringing it over at least, and you finally win.
Stu says if only SE were in charge of the production and as such they could take orders and produce exactly enough copies to meet demand. Oh wait, they are. Yeah, you know what I think? That's yep. What you just said is exactly what I was going to bring up. I think part of it might have to do with the FF16 stuff. Um, that game did not sell out when they put it on there. Normally, when you see a Final Fantasy game do a big collector's edition, it's gone instantly,
Mhm.
and it just sells out. There's still Final Fantasy 16 readily pre-orderable You can still get it on there with no problem.
Well,
I
I
think
mean,
they looked at that and pulled back a little bit.
you almost got to look at Final Fantasy 16 as a new IP at this point. It is so
Yeah.
far removed from Final Fantasy series that I mean they really kind of have to rebuild a new fan base. Nobody's I think people are excited to play this game, but for reasons other than being a Final Fantasy fan. You know,
Yeah, they
it's
look at it
more of
as
an
just a
action
cool new
game.
game.
Right. With cool graphics, a pretty cool looking battle system, I would say. I mean, it's so far removed at this point, but you know, it is what it is. I'm curious to see how it
We'll
is.
see.
I did not enjoy 15 at all. I tried.
Oh,
I really tried to enjoy that game. I just could not get into it. But I know that they brought in uh who did they bring in? They brought in a guy who did was it the Devil May Cry series?
well, did the
Yeah,
combat for it, so
the
that's where
combat.
they're getting that from.
And
Yeah,
I think that's, I mean, if you're going to go with an action-based combat, bring in somebody who knows what they're doing. That alone for me is reason enough for me to be excited to play this game. I'm not even, I don't think of it as a Final Fantasy game. I mean, it's weird to say. It's just,
Hmm.
I don't know. I don't think of it as a Final Fantasy game. I think of it as a cool new action game coming out that I want to check out.
Plus it's on a platform with a comparatively small install base. True. Yeah, PS5s are they're becoming a lot easier to find, but that's easier in comparison to almost impossible. So it's
Right.
still, not everybody who wants one has one. So I think that's a valid point as well. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see where it goes. I mean, you know how big of a Final Fantasy fan I am. I have the big box 16 pre-ordered, and I'm on the fence. I go back and forth on whether I want to cancel it or not, because I just don't know if I really care that much about this new one. It doesn't
Right.
look like it's going to really cater to me and my love of like the older style of the games. And that's,
Yeah.
that's totally fine. I'm just, that's just where I'm coming from. I understand the series is evolving, and they got new people in charge, and all this stuff. And you're not going to hear me say that I'm expecting it to be a bad game. I am expecting it to be very different from what I would have liked to have seen.
Right.
So if that makes sense. So we'll see what happens. It'll be interesting. Um, anyway, enough Final Fantasy talk. Oh my god, I just said that out loud.
Well, it's
Adrian, have you
good. It's good
what?
that I one more on the it's good that the Final Fantasy VII remake is still somewhat turn-based, It's more action-based, but it still feels turn-based-ish, or you can at least try to play it that way. I enjoyed Final
You can
Fantasy
try.
VII remake, and I think this new game is going to be
Hmm.
cool. I'm curious to see where they go with that. And if
You play anything else?
yes, I am. Doom, still chipping away at Doom. I'm so close to beating that game. And Tales of Arise, I started it again. And the reason why is I was playing it on my PS5 to begin with. But since getting the Steam Deck, I decided that was a better format for me to play that game. So I've been playing it
Sure.
on the deck. And I've also been playing Rise of the Tomb Raider. I went back and I started that game when it first came out, and I quit for whatever reason. And I forgot all about everything about it. And I popped it in the other night and started playing it. And I was like, this game is really good. It's really, really good. I played for about 2 or 3 hours the other night, and I think I'm gonna stick that one out to the end too. Um, it's a fun game. I've been wanting to get through all that whole trilogy. I played the first one.
Sure.
And I want to get through all of them. They're very Uncharted like, very, very Uncharted like.
Oh, cool. Oh, a lot of climbing.
The set piece climbing where you're climbing and then something breaks off and then you have to jump off. It's so Uncharted it hurts.
One of my biggest issues with those kinds of games is like not the climbing itself, but how long those climbing segments seem to drag on. Like
Yeah.
if you've got me climbing one segment for 30 minutes, I'm just like, bro, like
Yeah.
I get it. All right, this person can hang on to a freaking cliffside. Like it. Oh god, I hate that so much. Which is
And I
unfortunate
know
because I
that
love
as
the
soon as
stories
I
in those games and everything else. But man,
yeah, or you're going to jump from one edge of the cliff to the other, and something's going to break in the process. And yeah, they do have a crafting system in this game where you can there's a lot of things to find and collect, and I think that's been something that I've enjoyed. And it's not like open world, at least not yet. I don't know if it does this or not, but it's not open world to where I feel overwhelmed with how big everything is. It's still somewhat
Sure.
contained, and that's the type of gameplay style I enjoy.
Okay, fair enough.
Oh,
Anything
and
else?
one more, P-Cross. P-Cross.
Okay.
I got a P-Cross. I think it's P-Cross S on the Switch, and this is the Sega version of P-Cross. There's like
Hmm.
7 different games on there. The Sega one has Sega Genesis's Master System characters that you reveal through these P-Cross puzzles, and yeah, I've been playing that quite a bit. That's fun. I love P-Cross games though.
Nice.
Yeah, that's it though. What about you?
So I don't think I played as many as you just mentioned, but I did roll credits on 5 games since we last recorded.
That's insane.
Yeah,
Wow.
I've been just playing video games and not doing much else. Family was in town. I told you that, so I got to do everything I can to avoid that if at all possible.
I hear you.
I've been, I haven't had to work, so I've been just at home, just playing games, and I because I finished my list of 20 for last year. I wanted to try and catch up on a handful of games that came out in 2022 before I do my top 5 for 2022 on the channel. So I finished. I may have mentioned that I was playing at the time, but I finished Pokemon Scarlet
Mm-hmm.
on the Switch. I really, really enjoyed that. All right, Brian, take care, man. Thanks for stopping by. And yes, Lamont, I agree. Climbing in general is so overused. It's in every game now. Yeah, I wholeheartedly agree. Because the next game that I played, Horizon Forbidden West, has a ton of it, and I was getting really frustrated and annoyed with how often you had to climb on stuff. I'm just like, man, that game has okay. I loved the first Horizon. It is actually, full disclosure, on my top 100 games of all time. If you've been following my list that I've been doing on my channel, I love that game. This second one looks beautiful, but there's just something about it that just made everything seem like such a chore. It just felt like everything I was doing was just busy work. And that may have been my own fault because I had just come off of Assassin's Creed Odyssey, which
Mm-hmm.
is a very similar game. And I had just platinumed that one as well. I actually got the platinum on Forbidden West as well. Just because it was, I don't mind. I can get a platinum if it's just grindy. Skill based ones, like where you have to complete on different difficulties and all that stuff. It's like I can do it in most cases. I just don't have the desire to. I just don't care that much.
Right.
I would rather just experience the story. And so that's what I go for. But Forbidden West, man, was just it just felt tedious. Everything just seemed like such a chore to do. I hate saying that because there's so much to offer, and I would venture to guess if you played Horizon Forbidden West first before the other one, which you probably shouldn't because the story takes place directly after it, and it's a continuation. You'd probably like it better, but it's just I didn't hate it, but it definitely did not have the same impact as the first game.
Yeah.
Which is unfortunate. So yeah, but I did complete that one as well. Like I said, I got the platinum trophy on that. I played through A Plague Tale: Innocence finally. I really, really have been wanting to play that for a while. I played it, and I love the story. I love the atmosphere. I love the characters and just the overall aesthetics, the time period, and everything like that. I was not a fan of the gameplay. I just didn't like just every single mission, just sneaking around, maybe a
Mm-hmm.
small puzzle right here, and then you sneak around some more, and then maybe another puzzle, and you sneak around. Then there's this tiny little boss guy that you just got to hit in the head with a couple of stones, and you go back to sneaking around. It's just
A lot of stealth.
uh, yeah, and I wasn't super in love with it, but I am glad I played it because I really enjoyed everything else. But if it was a longer game, I don't know that I would have stuck it out, if that makes sense.
Yeah. It was a good
Kelly
length
says,
for sure.
Yeah. That way says Horizon looked amazing. I got bored though. Yeah, no, that exactly. Yeah, I think it was just because like if I had other stuff to do or if I had other games on my list of 20 still to play for the year, I probably would have not gotten a platinum and just been like, all right, I'm just finishing the story and being done with it. But since I was just kind of like, I'm just gonna do it. All I have to do is just go and get these items up here and go get this. And there's some of the controls are really wonky in that game. It's rough. Go look at YouTube videos on how to do the weapon skill tutorials and you'll see what I mean because everybody's complaining about those and they're required for the trophy, which is really frustrating. And yeah, anyway. I also finished up finally Mario and Rabbids Kingdom Battle. That's the first one, not the new one that came out. I want to play the new one, which is why I finally finished this one. I don't know why I never finished it in the first place. I had like one area left and the battles in it were super easy. I just blew through it.
Yeah.
So I don't know why I never finished it before. But that game is just such a fun game. Just the rabbits are awful and they suck. So they kind
Yeah.
of yeah.
I wish that game was made without rabbits, just Nintendo characters.
Yes.
That would be good enough.
I wouldn't even mind if the rabbits were just the bad guys. I just don't think they should be copies of the main characters in your party. Like,
Yeah.
why would I want Rabbid Mario
Yeah.
instead of Mario? I
Right.
want to use Mario and Luigi, not Rabbid Luigi and Rabbid Mario. I don't want them. So yeah, it's rough. But I still love the game and the gameplay is super solid and I definitely can't wait to try the new one at some point. And then I also went ahead and finished Eiyuden Chronicle Rising on the Switch. It was on sale for $2 like a couple of months ago on Switch.
I picked it up too.
I was like, snagged it. So and
How long is that game?
It depends on how much you do. I want to say it took me, I don't know, maybe 10 hours, maybe a little bit more.
Oh, wow.
But I did
Okay.
a ton of side stuff.
Yeah.
It's very repetitive. It's very,
Yeah.
very fetch questy and yeah,
That was my impression.
yeah, that's the whole entire game. But it is kind of cool to see the setup for the universe for the full Eiyuden Chronicle game that's going to be eventually coming out. And that's kind of the main reason I wanted to play it because I'm such a Suikoden fan that getting to see this man, you can if you're a big Suikoden fan and you try this out, you'll see similarities right away. It's just amazing, especially the character design and the art and all that stuff. It's really really cool. Stu says just Nintendo characters shooting each other. Sounds outlandish, but so does Smash Brothers. It's a little more than that. I've been told, I haven't played XCOM, so I don't know, but I have been told it's a little bit kind of like that. Mario and Rabbids is what he's referring to. But it's it's a strategy tactical RPG kind of thing. And it's amazing except for the rabbits. That's the only thing. It's just they suck. The most annoying video game characters, period. They suck. Ugh.
Period.
Anyway, so yes, and now I am currently playing through Star Ocean: The Divine Force.
Oh yeah, I saw that. Is it all right?
It's fine. Star Ocean it hasn't been epic for a long time, which is unfortunate because the concept of an RPG that takes place half with like sci-fi with spaceships and going from planet to planet, and the other half with some of those planets being, medieval type setting, fantasy stuff with magic and everything like that, all meshed together, is so cool and can go in so many different directions. And it's just they always just fall short of what it could do. Star Ocean 2 still did it the best by so far. It was amazing. And yes, you do need bifocals to play Star Ocean because they have not fixed the text on it. It is still very small. It's so frustrating. But just nothing's really happened in the story. I crash landed on a planet and I'm trying to find my crew, and that's it. But I've been playing for like 12 hours so far, and according to I'm not looking at a walkthrough, but I'm looking at like the table of contents of a walkthrough to kind of judge how far I've come. So I'll look at like the the title of it and be like, okay, well, this is the area I'm at right now, so I've got this much of the game left. And I'm according to that, I'm like halfway through. So I'm like, man, this
Wow.
better start picking up because but it's been that way for the past few games, unfortunately. Star Ocean 2, amazing. Everything else is decent, depending on who you ask. Which sucks because I love the concept so much. I did like Star Ocean 4 much more than other people did.
Which one was on the PS2?
PS2 was Star
Was
Ocean
that
3
3?
and 4. Yeah.
Okay.
Well, no, I'm sorry. 4 was on Xbox 360 and PS3. It was just Star Ocean 3 till the end of time. That's the game that everybody loved, but has that notorious twist, the plot twist. That is,
Yeah. You mentioned
if you
that
know,
before.
you know. And this one
I have
takes
heard that
this
one was
game
good.
takes place before that one. So, like every other game in the series, it's meaningless.
Yeah.
Once if you played 3, it's like, oh, so everything else is there's nothing really, it doesn't matter. But anyway, so yes, that is all the stuff I have been playing lately. Because
So
but I've been getting
yeah,
paid.
I mean you've played almost as many as I have. That's quite a bit, man.
Gotta do what you gotta do.
Actually, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I played 7. You played 5. That's pretty good.
I finished 5. I played 6.
Okay. I finished 0. So
Oh, okay.
yeah.
Oh, you know what? 7. I've been playing Cosmo Tier with my friend Mark and his brother John. It's on PC, and it's like literally you're just designing your own spaceships and making your own fleets and trying to do missions in galaxies and stuff. Super fun. Really fun little game. So
Cool.
yeah. Well, should we start talking about 2022 year in review?
Yeah. Yeah, we should. So I wasn't sure the format on this, and I think we talked about it before, whether we were going to do a top list or just kind of talk about our favorite games of the year. So I took the approach of just talking about my favorite games of the year. And I played a surprising amount. Like I didn't think that I played that many, but I actually have played quite a few. So yeah, and I'd like to talk about all of the ones that I've played. Maybe not in depth because I've talked about them on the show, but at least talk about what my favorite ones were.
I have it's separated into games that I have played and games that I haven't played, but I know like either made a big impact or I want to play at some point.
Okay.
So all right, let's start at the top. Advance Wars reboot. That was a great. Oh wait, I'm getting
Oh my
something from
gosh.
the booth. They're saying Advance Wars did not come out as promised. All right, well let's just move on down. Metroid Prime Trilogy remastered. No, the same thing. Okay, all right. Well, man, where should we start then? Jeez,
Wow.
I hope those games come out next year.
The trilogy, has that
Yeah,
been announced?
Nintendo, dig at you. Dig at you.
Yeah. I didn't think the trilogy was announced, or am I forgetting?
It wasn't, but everybody's been rumored. It's been rumored like crazy. You know what? Change that out for Metroid Prime 4 then. Same thing.
Right.
You jerks.
Good old Nintendo.
This year, I mean, yes. All right. Well, you want to just go back and forth? You choose a game, then I'll choose a game. We just go back and forth. I like that.
Yeah, I'm going to start with the big one for me, Elden Ring. I've talked about this game extensively. I've already talked about it on this show, but Elden Ring is by far the best game of the year for me, hands down. Best game of the past several years for me, hands down. Like, I adore this game so much. Just the amount of things that you can do in it. I've never, generally with open world games, I get bored very easily. I like to have a clear path, a clear goal, clear focus. And if you just set me off in a world and tell me to go find stuff and collect stuff, then it just bores me. I used to be into that, but I think I just wore it out, and now it just doesn't appeal to me anymore. Elden Ring, though, it does have those characteristics, but there are enough side dungeons and things to find to occupy my time that, the next time I find a new cave or crypt or castle or whatever, I get so excited to go explore it and find whatever is in it, and spend the next few hours trying to get through it. And it's
Sure.
just so much fun to me. So Elden Ring is such a great game. I think that's a masterpiece of a game that will be remembered forever. It's a big
Yeah,
one.
I mean, I've talked about it before, and you know, I feel the same way about pretty much all the Soulsborne games that I've played so far. I don't specifically have fun with those games
Yeah.
unless I'm playing with like you or anybody else. I like the co-op aspect. I like, you know, have me play a co-op game with anybody, any co-op game for the most part, and I'm gonna have a good time. Um, but the wow factor of
Yeah.
Elden Ring is just, even if it's not your cup of tea, it's still worth, at least, even if you're just going to watch a video or something like that, just so eye-opening and unbelievable, the scope of that game and what they
Yeah.
did to craft this just amazingly detailed world. It's mind-blowing. It really is. I
Yeah.
can't say whether it's going to be my game of the year necessarily, but hot damn, it takes a lot for me to not like have a blast playing a game, but still consider it to be potentially my game of the year, just because it did so many things well. You know, it's fantastic. You pretty much said it all. So yeah, Elden Ring is definitely, even if it's not remembered, you know, that much by society, I will certainly remember that game. So, all right, um, Pokemon Legends Arceus.
Oh yeah, I have that as well. Yeah,
I
that was a great
really,
game.
really enjoyed the hell out of that game.
Me
I
too.
completed the Pokedex, did everything except get the rank up, just because I didn't want to keep catching the same ones over and over again and doing like the little mini challenges. Because I looked at the rewards, you really don't get anything for it. But I did do all like the optional end game stuff, the stuff that happens after the credits roll and everything. I really hope that they start. I would like to see them do like a Pokemon Legends spin-off series. Like just pick another
Yeah.
legendary and then just do another game in the same vein of that, with, you know, the same catching mechanics and Pokedex style, all that stuff. Because that game really had a lot to offer. I will say, and you know, this good, because I'll mention, you know what, I may as well just mention it right now, but Pokemon Scarlet and Violet as well. Because I did finish that too. All the Pokemon games that came out this year, I had a blast with, but it is freaking time for them to look at modernizing the visuals. I'm
Yeah.
not saying it make it hyper realistic and all that stuff, but man, you guys have got to do something about the just, everything looks so last gen. And when you're saying that about a Switch game, which already is pretty much last gen in the graphics department, it's like, what are you thinking, man? Like, I get it.
Right.
The whole mindset is we just want the games to be fun. We want people to be having fun with it. And mission accomplished, absolutely. But you still, there's something to be said about a game that looks good as well and runs good in a lot of cases, because there's several glitches too. But these visuals and a lot of the clipping and just the plainness of a lot of these games that are new, that are coming out on newer consoles, is getting to that unforgivable point. I imagine for a lot of people it already is. So
Right.
yeah.
Well, I agree with you. Like the biggest takeaway that I had from Arceus is the gameplay was a lot of fun. It was addictive. It kept me wanting to keep going, but the world and the people in it and everything was so bland, so lifeless, dull, boring. I wanted to find something cool, you know, like
Yep.
Elden Ring is always showing you something cool. Now, I'm not comparing the two in terms of graphics at all. Like it's a different ball game, but at least give me something fun to find. Like encourage me to go explore. I don't think Arceus did a good job at that. Like I would get to the next zone and I would not feel propelled forward. Like I think I had the most
Yeah.
fun in that game in that very first zone. And then once you explored that whole zone, you're like, okay, I did that. I caught about as many Pokemon as I can possibly catch in this first area. Then you get to the new zone, you're like, okay, time to go do it again. And there's nothing really new there to discover. new Pokemon, but that's kind of it. And you know, I don't know about Scarlet and Violet, but I assume that to be similar. Um, I just wish, I agree with you. I wish they would take it a step further, you know, do the Breath of the Wild approach, where Breath of the Wild did such a good job at making every zone, every area feel unique, feel unexplored, and just fun and exciting to run around in. I think they could do the same thing with Pokemon games, you know?
Yeah, I don't see why not. Martin, I swear to God, you are just like in my head tonight, because everything you have said in chat is like I'm just getting ready to say it, and then you type it out. He says when Xenoblade Chronicles titles can come out looking as comparatively polished and smooth as they are, the Pokemon
Right.
titles have no excuse.
I agree.
100%,
I agree.
absolutely.
And they have the money. Like, I don't understand why they don't invest um in doing something like that. I mean, look at Breath of the Wild. Breath of the Wild was a launch title for the Switch, you know? If they could, if Breath of the Wild still holds up visually all these years later, why can't Pokemon games?
He also says Scarlet and Violet are totally different. It's not just catch more Pokemon, it's also make new sandwiches. I mean, you're right, but no, I was not thinking that. So yes, you got me on that one. But no, it's 100% true. There's really no excuse for the visual issues. My fear is that it's Pokemon. What reason do they really have to care at this point? It's still going to sell like hotcakes.
Yeah,
Um, you know,
it's true.
the last several Pokemon games have been, you know, jumped on for their visuals, and you know, still
Haven't done
nothing's
anything.
changed.
Yeah.
So, and it's still
I think
selling like
they've
crazy.
landed on a concept or a gameplay style that feels new and fresh. I think it's time for this next
Yep.
series or next two games to work on those visuals and work on those bugs and make something truly fun to explore. You've got the gameplay down.
I will say I do love, yeah, exactly, the gameplay. Do love the new direction that they took Scarlet and Violet as well with the gameplay, just the open world and being able to go pretty much anywhere and tackle any challenges you want at any point.
Yeah.
You don't have to like go along a set path. The levels, sure, there are some that it like kind of guides you in those directions, but you're not like locked into a specific path. You can go level up and take on one of the harder challenges first if that's what you want to do.
Right.
So I think that honestly is a great way for them to go, and I think this was a good experiment in that as well. Nobody's complaining about the gameplay on these games. The gameplay is
Well, and
solid. Just fix the visuals.
yeah, and make the world feel lived in. Like, I love
Yes.
the idea of
Yep.
seeing Pokemon out in the wild, but when they're just running around in circles in a area that you know, it doesn't do anything for me. Like, I'm thinking like Pokemon Snap, when you used to see the Pokemon in their element doing what they do, scratching trees or playing with an apple or whatever the case may be, taking that aspect of it, that life that they've added to that, and put it into a Pokemon game. Make these Pokemon feel like real live creatures and not just things that I have to collect.
Yep. Absolutely. Next,
I've got Kirby and the Forgotten Lands.
I have that one too. Yep.
I think that one is probably, I don't know if I want to say it's my favorite Kirby game, but it's up there. To take the 2D formula and seamlessly move it to the 3D, and still feel like a Kirby game, I think is quite an accomplishment. I felt like playing that it didn't feel like a stretch. It didn't feel different from a regular 2D Kirby game that I'm used to playing. It just fit. It worked. Being able to change into the different objects was always fun. There was a lot to find and discover in that game too. Like, each level had something new for you to try out.
Yeah.
I even enjoyed the challenge stages, and I generally don't like challenge stages in games, but I found these to be not too long and not too complicated, and they were off the beaten path enough to where I didn't feel like I had to do it, but I could do it if I wanted to.
Sure.
Um, one of my biggest annoyances with games is whenever they stick a challenge in the middle of a level. I'm looking at you, Doom, and Bayonetta. they stick these challenge areas right in the middle of the level. It's like, I don't want to stop what I'm doing to go do this challenge thing. Like, that should be like a whole separate thing.
Yeah.
Kirby does a good job at making it like you don't have to do it if you don't want to do it, but here it
Right.
is. Here's the option. Doesn't break
Yeah,
the flow.
I didn't touch any of the mini games or anything either in the main town. I should say I didn't touch them. I tried them and I was just kind of like, I don't want to do this anymore.
Yeah.
I didn't really feel like I was. Part of me was disappointed with that game. I thought it was great. Don't get me wrong, but because when it first got announced, everybody was saying like open world Kirby, open world Kirby. It's not open world.
No.
It is
No.
definitely not open world, but it's more like Super Mario 3D Land kind of thing, which is not a bad thing. And I played it, I finished it, and I really really enjoyed it. I've never been like massively into Kirby, not because I like hate him or have any like thing against those games. I just haven't played very many of them. So
Right.
to go through this game, I was really curious about how it was going to be, and I enjoyed the hell out of it. I think if you have a Switch and if you've got a kid, it's a wonderful game to play with the family and try to do all the challenges and just get as far as you can in the game. It seems like it's just a really really great family game.
Or even if you're a fan of like level based
Sure.
games, 3D platformers,
Yep.
I think it's a great one of those. Leveling up your powers was something that I had a lot of fun with. Seeing what new types of ability this weapon or this thing would evolve into, this hat.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, I enjoyed it.
Yeah, cool. Next I've got is we don't have to go too much into it because I've talked about it a little bit, but Horizon Forbidden West. Did you play it at all?
No.
Okay. It's very similar to the first game, just very, very tedious. And man, if you're going for the platinum on that, just be wary of those the combo tutorial sections, because those are a nightmare to get through. I still don't know how I did half of them because I feel like I was just pressing buttons and they eventually just worked. But worth checking out if you're curious. If you really like the first one, just know that it is going to feel like you're doing chores quite often in that game. So yeah, that's that.
Yeah, in general, I'm not really interested in playing that game at all. I'm just open world games in general, just like I'm not a fan of. Let's see.
Says the guy who just went on about Elden Ring for Lord knows how long.
Yeah. And actually the open worldness of Elden Ring is my least favorite part of that game.
Is it? Oh, okay.
And I think that's people's most favorite part. But I do love how everything is, the different zones that you can explore aren't too far apart.
I'll be honest with you though, I don't disagree with you. Like my most enjoyable Soulsborne game that we've played was Demon Souls, the remake on PS5.
Yeah.
I loved that structure of like going into an area, pushing as far as you can, taking down the boss, realizing you can't move on because you need something from a different area, going back to that area and pushing as far as you can there, and like having a set path with those, but not like not to where you can't return to other areas if you wanted to. That was my favorite one out of all those. So I definitely see where you're coming from.
Yeah, I 100% agree. Like when I finish a dungeon, like I don't want to run around. There's really not a lot to do. There's a lot to see. There's just not a lot to do when you're running around on your horse in the open world.
Yeah.
Okay, so my next one is going to be Bayonetta 3, and I've talked a little bit about this, I think the last episode. I still haven't finished it, but I had to play through Bayonetta 2 before I started this one. It's more Bayonetta. Like I like Bayonetta. I like action games like that, and this is like a really good one of those. So the controls are responsive and snappy, and there's all kinds of really cool, flashy animations for the different battles, death animations and stuff that you're doing, and the bosses are all big and elaborate and fun and cool, and it's just a very flashy action game. And if if you're a person that's into that, which I know JJ you're not, but I am. I love that stuff. I eat it up, and it's a great action game.
Solid. There you go. Triangle Strategy.
I have not played that one yet.
I loved it.
Really?
I've people have that I've talked to have mixed feelings about it. And it's completely understandable. It's not going to be as in depth as like Final Fantasy Tactics. It's a lot more boilerplate, which is fine with me because I love games like Shining Force, which are
Mhm.
visually appealing, but the combat is like super basic and there's not much to it. That's
Right.
kind of how this is. The visuals are drop dead gorgeous. If you like the Octopath Traveler visuals, it's the same style. And then it's just obviously tactical RPG. I just love the story. I love the different paths you can take, and you can see and feel the weight of each decision and the effect that it has on the world and where the characters are going to end up. There's real consequences to the decisions in that game. So much so to where like you make a decision and that's going to affect your missions for the next third of the game that you're going to be playing, rather than just like it being like some roundabout thing in most games where it's like, here's a decision. It doesn't really matter what you pick, but if you do, you might see a little bit of different dialogue come up, but you're still going to end up in the same place. No, you're going to have different endings. You're going to have different missions in between there and that ending. You're going to go to different places. It's very cool and something I would love to revisit at some point, because it was just so much fun.
That is cool. I do want to play it. I'm getting so into the tactical based games right now. I think I've taken a long enough break from them that I'm just thoroughly enjoying Tactics Ogre.
Yeah.
But I appreciate the basic approach that you're talking about, where there's just not a lot to it.
Yeah.
But I also really appreciate the in between battles having to set up your team, make sure everybody's upgraded, make sure they have the best weapons, and they have the
This game
proper
has that.
skill set. Okay.
It does have that. Yeah.
That's kind of the thing that I'm enjoying the most about Tactics Ogre is that setup phase before I go in and seeing how well I planned.
It's more like how Final Fantasy Tactics, you have different jobs that you can change your characters into. This just has more
Mhm.
characters that each do different things, if that makes sense.
Yeah, yeah.
So
So you choose which character you think will be best for the
right.
battle. Yeah, that sounds
Yep.
cool. Yeah. Next up for me is Xenoblade Chronicles 3.
Ooh-wee.
Yeah. And I'm only saying this one because most of my other ones are re-releases or remasters.
Sure.
The Xenoblade Chronicles 3 I'm still working on that one, still chipping away. I took a break from it. It's it's a game that I feel like I can't continuously play through. I have to take breaks from it because it's so heavy on everything. The story is heavy and it's constant and there's
You're
things
not wrong.
happening all the time.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, the next area that you reach, the next so far that you run in this open world, and then there's just a huge plot line that happens and cutscenes and everything. It's like there's a lot of watching in this game. But the
And that
gameplay
doesn't
is
include all the
solid.
like little side quests you can do and the stories for each individual NPC that you can recruit.
Mhm.
Because that's all in there too. Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, there's a lot going on, but it's very engaging, very fun, very like I'm feeling more attachment to the characters. I don't like the characters
Mhm.
quite as much as the ones I did in 2. But I am growing a little bit more attached to them as it goes on because they do such a good job at fleshing these characters out, giving
Yeah.
them backstories and building relationships. And that's been pretty cool because I think the big driving force for the Xenoblade games is having that connection to the characters and understanding the relationships
Yeah.
between them and understanding what their focus and goals are and how they reach it and seeing the ups and downs as they go. So it's a great game. I think if there's not a lot of games that have a deep, engaging story like Xenoblade. Um, there's a lot of RPGs out there that are just kind of stereotypical storylines. You're trying to save the world or whatever. Xenoblade games, and Xenoblade Chronicles 3 is no exception here. They do such a good job of creating a storyline that is very unique, a world that is very
Yeah,
unique. You've not seen this world before. You've not seen, they have, their motivations are unlike any other game that I've ever played before. Yeah, they're trying to save the world, but not in a traditional sense. They're trying to save themselves from the events that are going on, the oppression, and the fighting, and all that. And it's an adult theme, I would say, but still set in an anime kind of
for sure.
cartoonish look. And it works really well for me. I think if it was straight realistic looking graphics, I don't think I would connect with it quite as much. I
I
like the style.
wholeheartedly agree. Yeah. Now, did you finish 1 and 2?
Yeah, I've finished every Xenoblade game except for this one.
Okay. Even X?
So does X even really count? That's kind of like a spin-off title, I would say.
It's not connected to this, no. At least as far as we know. No, it's not connected to 3. I could see how they could spin it into being connected to 3 though. But it is not. But the reason I asked is because the ending of 3 is so much better if you have played and finished 1 and 2. So that's
Okay.
good.
Yeah.
Because it's you'll smile at the end. It's pretty cool. Um yeah, this is up there with me for game of the year with Elden Ring.
Yeah.
I spent like 100 plus hours on it. Went through, I did all the side quests for every recruitable character. I did everything I could. The only things I didn't do were like once I completed the story, I didn't go back and like try to take out the level 120 plus monsters that are out there and stuff like that. I've seen them and I've been killed by them, so I know they're
Yeah.
there. But I didn't have the desire to go do that. But I was max level. I maxed out all my characters, all my jobs. I Man, it just absolutely blew me away. And a big part of that is, like you said, the story. I think you hit the nail on the head when you said it's very unique. It's these stories in all 3 of these games, and not even just the story itself, but the setting too.
Yeah.
It just kind of comes out of nowhere. You're like, I've not seen this before. Okay, wow,
Yeah.
I've never even considered this to be something that could be written. Like it's just amazing the things that they come up with, and to see it all tied together into a good trilogy like this, it just made it so much better. And I really, really appreciate what they did. I'm on the opposite side on the characters, though. I love the cast from the beginning. I think that they were phenomenal, and I related to a lot of them right away. Um, I just really, really enjoyed everything about that game, and I wholeheartedly recommend it to anybody who's looking for a good RPG that's going to take you a while on the Switch.
Mhm.
And again, to loop it back around to Pokemon, seeing what this game can do
Oh yeah.
graphically,
Yeah.
and then seeing what Pokemon can do, it's like you guys have no excuse.
Yeah.
Come on, like because Xenoblade is unbelievable. Um, yeah, so I mean, you pretty much said it all. There's not much more I can add. So yeah, Xenoblade Chronicles 3, definitely a high point of 2022 for
Yeah.
sure.
It'll be
Um,
memorable.
yes. All right. I'll do a quick one. Nintendo Switch Sports. I had a lot of fun with it just because I like the bowling. And I still, pop it in and dick around with it every now and then. It's just super fun. I love that they added a like an elimination kind of thing to the bowling on there, and it's just as fun as it ever was on the Wii U. Or on the Wii. I think it should have been a pack-in title for the Switch. I think that would have made it much better received. So it's unfortunate that it wasn't on there. I haven't like fired it up to try the golf, so I don't know. And I don't think it should have been full price. It should not have been a $60 game, not even remotely.
Yeah.
But for the short time that I did play it, and the short times I go back to it every now and then, it's a fun little time killer. So did you even try it?
No.
Yeah. Okay. And I imagine most people probably haven't because of that price tag, and knowing Nintendo, it's probably, I haven't looked in a while, but I would venture to guess it still hasn't dropped. So
No,
yeah.
I've been waiting for a price drop. I would buy it at I think 30 is the most I would pay for that game.
Yeah, and even 30, I feel like is probably a little more than it should be. I
Yeah.
think 2025 is around where it should be. Yes. So, but hopefully, fingers crossed, they'll have a sale and they'll more people get to try it out because it's a fun little time killer and it's a lot of fun if you have people to play with, especially.
Yeah.
So if you do get it, hit me up because I will play online with you on that.
You
It's
know,
great.
actually, my kids here lately have been playing a lot of 1-2 Switch. And 1-2 Switch, I think, is even less as far as content than
Who?
sports.
Yeah, no, I
And
don't
dude,
even have
I'm
that.
telling you, they
Mm-mm.
try to get me to play that with them, and it's just I don't like it. But they will play it for hours and just laugh and giggle and have a good time with it. They love
That's all
that
that
game.
matters. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
they're having a good time
So
with
I
it. Then
mean,
there you go.
maybe I need to get
Are they playing the
sports.
cow milking game over and over again? Is that why they're laughing and giggling? Because I've seen what that
No,
looks like,
I didn't
and that
even
would
know that
make
was a one
that
on
would
there.
make my oh, you don't know what? Literally, you have to milk a cow, with one controller. Think about how that looks.
Yeah, yeah. No,
Yeah,
I
you're
haven't
just
seen them
doing
do
that in
that.
front of the TV and you're racing everybody to. Yeah, it's really awkward. Um,
The one they
yeah,
play the most is the walk or the runway, where you have to walk across the runway and you have to walk a certain way, and then you have
gosh,
to do a pose at the end of it. And for they love that one.
I've never played it and I have no interest. Especially that's another one that should have been just a pack-in title. That is that
Yeah,
is that is a tech demo if I've ever seen one.
yeah, I
It's
agree.
frustrating. What else you got?
So before I get into all of the remasters and stuff, my last like truly original game of the year, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Shredder's Revenge.
Yeah,
Uh, I had a really good time playing through that with Owen. We
same.
we played through it. It took us a few days to get through it. It's a kind of a lengthy game. It's very repetitive, but it's so nostalgic in how it it still feels like an old school TMNT game, and you can see a lot of
Yeah.
influence there from the Scott Pilgrim game, which I
The
love
people
that
who
one as
made
well.
it love the originals. You can tell. There's a ton of
Yeah,
love and attention to detail.
a lot of Easter eggs, a lot of different enemies and that you may have forgotten about from the TV show. Yeah, I had a lot of
I
good
disagree
time
that
with
it's
it.
lengthy though. Brian is not in the chat anymore. He had to leave for the night, but him and I finished it in about 3 hours in one night.
It felt lengthy to me, and I think it took us closer to probably 5 hours, maybe. It's
That's still
so
really short though.
repetitive.
It is, yeah. Brian and I have such a history with those kind of games, like just the beat 'em ups from those older systems. That like as soon as we jumped in, like we just connected with it like right off the bat.
Yeah,
And just went to town. And we were like, there wasn't even a question of should we stop? Should we take a break? No, we just went. We got to a point where like there's like 2 levels left. Well, I guess we're doing this. And we just went through because we didn't
yeah.
even think about it. We just played the game and just rolled with it. Um,
We
yeah,
had a I had a harder time playing with Owen. He's not used to that game,
sure.
so he managing resources and things was a little bit of a problem, and we had to repeat levels, so it was
Fair enough.
a little bit longer. But we still had
Lamont
a good time.
says TMNT was good. Beat 'em ups are not supposed to be long. Very true. Yes, absolutely. In that regard, I would say yeah, it's probably long for a beat 'em up. Um,
Right.
because that's yeah, like you think back to like the days of like Double Dragon and Streets of Rage, that kind of thing, where you just beat it in one sitting and it wasn't very long at all. Like 3 to 5 hours is a pretty good sized game for a beat 'em up.
Yeah.
I can piggyback on that with TMNT, the Cowabunga collection.
Yeah.
Um, the fact that that came out, I still haven't played it yet, but I did pick it up on the PS5. I love that they did that. Those
Yeah,
games,
me too.
I just have so much nostalgia for pretty much all of them. They're so great. I know that I was thinking about this earlier today when I, jump on my list of 20 games that I'm going to finish in 2023, which that video just released yesterday on the 1st of January. If you haven't go check that out, go for it because, man, it like people have been commenting like crazy on that video.
Yeah.
It's super fun. And go check out the games that I'm gonna be playing next year. But I was thinking about early today, I was like, this will be a good palate cleanser for when I'm like, oh my god, I can't do another heavy RPG. I will dive right into that Cowabunga collection and play some of those old school ones, especially with like the rewind and saving features and stuff, whatever they have on there, I will finally be able to beat that NES Turtles one. So we'll
Yeah.
see. Because there was no way I could do that as a kid. It was brutally tough. But I certainly tried, and I have a lot of fond memories of that game. And obviously the arcade game is one of my favorite games of all time. So
Mine too. That's the one I have the most nostalgia for. I remember loving the arcade game so much, and that was the game that I wanted to get on my NES. And I never ended up owning it on my NES, but it was
you have it now?
I have it now, but as a kid, that was like hands down the number one game that I wanted on my NES, and I never got it.
I
But
have it complete in box, but I don't have the Pizza Hut coupon, unfortunately.
oh man, that's such a nostalgic game to me, and I want to, like, every time I play it through, or just even start playing it, it brings me back to that time.
It's great. Yep.
I did play the Cowabunga collection. I didn't play through all of them. I just went through and played
Yeah,
the
try 'em
first
out.
few levels of each one. I've never played any of the Game Boy games, so that was kind of fun to experience those.
Yeah.
And Turtles in Time, I think, is the one I have the least amount of experience with. So it was kind of fun to play a bit of that one. And that one is so much like the arcade game. It's pretty crazy.
Yeah.
But
Turtles in Time is probably the most well known. I think most people would consider that the best one. And I think objectively it probably is. Other than Shredder's Revenge, which I would say out of all of them is now probably the king of those games because it has everything and it's so well polished. But Turtles in Time was probably the best out of prior to this new one. Probably the best Turtles beat 'em up. But the arcade game will always be my favorite, I think.
yeah, me too.
I want to knock two off of here that I have written down, but that I have talked about already. Eiyuden Chronicle Rising. I talked about that a bunch earlier and my experience with that, and Star Ocean: The Divine Force, which I'm currently playing. So yeah, I neither one of those are gonna more than likely not gonna be on my top 5 games of 2022. But I had fun with Eiyuden Chronicle. I'm super excited to see where the full game it comes in and how that goes, because I really like the writing in those games. It's just so good. And if you find out what the main character's name is CJ, and at the end of the game you find out what CJ stands for, and it's just a goofy, funny thing. I love it. So, and then Star Ocean, I'm having fun with it, but it's not, Star Ocean has not grabbed me like the older titles did, unfortunately. So
Yeah.
So yeah, knock those out. You have any others that you want to spend a lot of time on or anything?
No. Well, yeah. Let me knock off 3 here real quick. Tactics Ogre Reborn, which I've already talked about. It's a great game. Chrono Cross Remastered. I had a lot of fun playing that game again this year.
Yeah.
I was surprised how much I actually remembered of that game, considering how long ago I played it.
I was surprised how little I remember.
Really? Yeah, I was.
Yeah.
I was surprised. Like, typically, I don't remember. Like, I remember bits and pieces, but I felt like I remembered a lot more of this game than I thought I did, and it just brought all those memories back of playing it for the first time. So that was a real fun one for me this year.
Sure.
Also, the Klonoa Fantasy Reverie. That one was again. I've been wanting to play through those Klonoa games. I'm glad I finally played through the first one, and I will get to the second one eventually. But those games are so much fun. I love those 2D platformers. Last game on my list, and it is also a remaster or remake, but I've not any experience with it at all. Live Alive. And Live Alive, to me, I've played through 3 of the characters' storylines so far. I need to get back to it and finish the rest of them, but those storylines, man, are so good. Like, it's shocking to me that this game came out in the Super Nintendo or Super Famicom era. Like, the amount of writing and how good the writing is pretty astounding for the time frame. I think it's unique, and I really think had this game come out in the States back then, it would have done well. It would have been one that people remember fondly,
Sure.
just based upon the few stories that I've already played. And the stories that I played are so vastly different from one another that um, everything from the combat to the storyline and everything that you're going through is so different that it feels like a new experience each time you choose a new character to play through.
Yeah.
Like specifically, I'm thinking like I played through the Chinese master. He's like a martial arts master. I forget his name. His was really good, and you're training these other people under you to find a successor, basically. That one was pretty heavily combat based. So was this other one. And then you play the other one I played was the robot in space. And that one had very little battle. Like the only time the battles were basically optional in that storyline. And but the storyline was very like I don't want to say adult. It's like mature. It was it felt like an alien movie or something.
Okay.
Where you're stuck on the ship and people are slowly, disappearing one by one, and it's kind of creepy. The atmosphere was really creepy, and
Interesting.
it worked so well,
I have
especially
it. I
with
definitely
those
want to play it.
graphics.
Yeah.
Especially since you liked Triangle Strategy and what's the other one in that
Octopath
same
Traveler,
Octopath.
which I cannot
I,
wait for Octopath 2. Oh,
yeah, I think you would like Live Alive quite a bit. And
I
I
think so
think it's a
too.
relatively short game too. So
Cool. All right. So I've got two more on here that I have played. And then I've got a handful of games that I didn't get the chance to play. I figured I'd just mention them.
yeah,
Forza Horizon 5 Hot Wheels DLC that came out, and while fun, very minimal. Like Lamont and I kind of played it on and off together, and I think both of us finished it 100% in like 2 or 3 days. I mean, it was ridiculous. We went through it so quick, which was disappointing because it is really cool. There's a lot to do, and it's gorgeous. And I love the idea of just having Hot Wheels tracks to be able to add to this open world.
Mhm.
But it was even more unfortunate because Forza Horizon 4 had the Lego expansion, which was like massive, and there was so much to do in that. I never even got close to doing everything in that. So it was
Yeah,
like, why? How come we didn't have this much going on? Like, what the heck?
yeah,
So it's unfortunate, but it was still fun. I kind of wish it was more a like free DLC or something, rather than calling it an expansion and having to pay for it. But either way, and you played it a little bit, right?
yeah. When it first came out, I played with you guys, and man, I am not on your level whatsoever. I thought I was good at that game, but man, you fly past me, and there was like no catching up.
Well, I mean, it's Forza Horizon. There's really not like you can't like. It's not like you're locked out of doing stuff with me in that point. You can
Right,
still
but
do anything.
when I'm racing, like I'm racing, dude. I gotta win.
Fair enough. Okay, fair enough. The other one I got is Splatoon 3,
Mm.
which I just fun little time killer. Again, I wish I had more people to play with because playing that game solo is eh. It's
Yeah.
kind of meh. I even like I have tried playing the single player on every Splatoon game, and I just get so bored so fast. I just can't do it. But when I play online with like friends, I have a ball and I love the game so much, and it's such a blast, especially like during the Splatfest and everything like that. So I hope to play more in the future. It's a solid game, and I recommend it to anybody who has a Switch as one of those to where you're just looking for something to do, pop in Splatoon 3, play a few matches, have some fun. So
What's funny is I've purchased 3 copies of that game, and I've never played. I played the beta, but I've never played the
yeah,
actual physical game. Um, Yeah, I don't know. That beta was a lot of fun. I just don't think I would put enough time into it to really enjoy it.
Well, you beta start playing more.
I better. Yeah.
And that is it for things that I played.
That's quite a few. 2022, when I started thinking about it, I was like, I don't recall playing that many new games in 2022. But once I went back and started looking, what came out this year, I went month to month at different release dates. I was like, I did play quite a few games that came out this year.
Yeah.
I was surprised at the amount of remasters and re-releases, though. That took up
Yes.
almost half of my list.
And I'm glad that they're doing that.
Yeah, me too.
I think it's great. I honestly I love that they're remastering these games, but if the reason they're not re-releasing the older stuff is because they want to remaster it, skip that. Just re-release these games as is. It's fine. At least I'm speaking for me personally. I don't care. I'm more than happy to just play the older versions, just as long as I can play it on my newer hardware. Release it digitally so people can have fun with it. You don't have to remaster everything. If you do, it's great. It's awesome. But if that's what's holding you back from re-releasing some of these older games, don't worry about that.
Well,
so I don't know who I'm talking to, developers, companies, whatever.
I agree with you to an extent. I do like and appreciate the remasters that on the same grounds as like Tactics Ogre or Live Alive or even Klonoa.
Yeah, it's definitely
those
not
games,
a bad thing.
They're not like heavily remastered, I would say. They're just slightly updated visually with the same mechanics, same levels, same everything. And then they'll put some quality of life things in there, like maybe take out some things that didn't work quite as well or add some things that help the experience be a little bit better. Even the Chrono Cross and the TMNT Cowabunga collection, those added like save states and rewinds and things like that, and those are like good enough quality of life things to add to these old games, I think.
For sure. I'm just gonna read my list really quick. I'm not gonna go into like depth on any of them.
Okay.
I want to play Lost Ark at some point.
What is
I
that?
want to play. That's the free MMO that came out, the isometric one on PC that everybody was clamoring for a long time. I've been told by multiple people that it's right up my alley. So I definitely want to give that a shot at some point. Harvestella, I still want to give a shot too. Obviously Crisis Core FF7 Reunion, that has been getting like ridiculous praise.
I know, man. Isn't that crazy to see?
Disney Dreamlight Valley, I want to give that a shot because I love Disney in general, but everybody I know who has been playing that game has been speaking very highly of it, and I'm so happy to hear that. So I want to try it at some point. I don't want to pay like the price that they're asking for it. I thought it was going to be free. I thought that was a rumor that I heard a while ago, but apparently not. Mario and Rabbids Sparks of Hope, I obviously want to play that because I love the first one. Stranger of Paradise Final Fantasy Origin, I do want to play it at some point. That's a whole episode. Live Alive and Tactics Ogre, obviously I want to play those as well. So, but those are the games that came out last year that I still want to give a shot to at some point.
The only one that I can think of that I really, really want to play is God of War Ragnarok. I feel like I want to get through a lot of these games that I already started this past year before I start God of War, because I want to devote my undivided attention to that game when I do play it.
Sure. That's fair.
Yeah. So you just announced your list on Sunday.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I went ahead and made my list of 5
that I'm going to
do.
Yeah.
I have, so the way that I structured my list is I chose games that I've heard a lot of good news about, that I've always wanted to try or play through. Maybe I've tried probably all of these games, but I want to get through completely, and see what the big deal is or why people think highly of these games.
And when you say completely, you want to just roll credits on them, right? Not like necessarily 100%. Yeah. Okay.
No. Unless I like it enough to 100% it. But
sure.
Most of these are going to be chosen for my two favorite genres, which survival horror and JRPGs.
Okay.
I also tried to choose games that were on different consoles or different generations, maybe. They're not all different generations, but definitely different consoles.
Okay.
So I wrote out 7 games, and I
Woo!
picked 5 of the 7. I was gonna have a
Okay.
bigger list, but I didn't want to make it too hard on myself to try to whittle those down.
It's not easy to narrow down. No, it's definitely
Yeah.
not. Once you have it narrowed though, and you just have those 5 games, it makes it so much less daunting to choose something to play.
Yeah.
So,
Well, what I did is I didn't even look at a list. I just thought of the first games that came to my mind, and I just
Mhm.
wrote those down. And then that way, and then when I got to 7, I was like, okay, I'm gonna stop here, because any more than this is it's gonna be too hard.
Right.
So my first one is really, it's an oddity. It's D2 on the Dreamcast. Have you even heard of this one?
Mm-mm.
Have you heard of D?
No, I mean I'm playing this guy at D2. I don't think that's what you're talking about though.
I gotta show you. Maybe you recognize the cover. This is D. Does that look familiar to you at all?
Yes, chat, I'm aware there's a D's nuts joke in there somewhere.
Go for it.
I do recognize the title, yes. Or not
Okay.
the title, the cover. Yeah, I have seen that before.
This game,
Lamont says cult classics. I need to play D&D 2 also. Yeah.
D is, so the only reason I know about D is because when I played through Resident Evil, I loved it so much. I was like trying to find other games that were horror themed games. And D is one that always stuck out to me just because of the cover. I love that cover. It's so simple yet effective and creepy. I never got to play it, never experienced it until much later on. And I didn't even play all the way through it because that game is really kind of hard to play through. It's kind of like a point and click style game.
Okay.
Those aren't necessarily my favorite style of games to play, but I
Sure.
still appreciate the game and how it's the cheesy 3D animations for the time and the horror effects that it tried to accomplish.
Yeah.
I really enjoy that. D2 came out on the Dreamcast, and it flew under the radar big time. It's more of a traditional style survival horror with third person perspective and exploration and things like that. And I've heard a lot of good things about it, and I just have never given the time to give it a shot. So
Okay.
I decided that would be a good one to put on here. It's a nice short game. I looked it up. It's about an 8 to 10 hour game. So,
Yeah.
or 8 to 12 hour, depending on how much you do. So I thought that would be a good one to experience. And yeah, I will report on it later once I get through it. I'm
For
sure
sure.
there's going to be a lot of interesting things in there. My second game is Final Fantasy VI. I've never played Final Fantasy VI past. I always stop at the same point, and I'm going to finally push past that point. It's
What point?
it's always when you go into the mountain after that first town that you encounter.
Jesus, so you have barely
Scratched the
like
surface. I know.
I wanted to see how far I could go in 1 hour on Christmas because I play that game every year for Christmas as tradition. And I spent 1 hour playing and I got past that mountain in 1 hour.
Okay.
So
Wow.
it's very early in
Dude,
the
that's
game.
crazy.
It's very early in the game. Yeah.
So I don't know if I told you this before, but I played it the first time I ever played Final Fantasy VI was on an emulator on my PC back when I was in college. And I got the part that I remember is fighting an octopus in the water, and you have the brothers.
That's farther than the mountain. Not much,
I know
but it
that's
is a little bit farther.
that's the furthest I've ever been. But
Okay.
I've tried to play it multiple times since then, and I always end up stopping at that same point.
You'll do that, and then the game actually splits off into 3 branches, and you choose which path you want to play. And you'll play each of those paths one by one, and they're all taking
Okay.
place simultaneously until you
Wild Arms
eventually get to a
style. I
point.
liked it.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I feel like a fake Final Fantasy fan for never having played one of the best in the series. So it's time. This year is the year that I'm finally gonna
I'm
play
excited.
through
Hell
the
yeah.
entire game.
Great.
Especially with the Pixel remaster. I think I'm not gonna wait for the Switch version. I'm just gonna go ahead and play it on my Steam Deck through
Cool.
Steam. Number 3 for me is Kuon. Kuon is another survival horror game on the PlayStation 2. It was developed by From Software, and it is known for being eh, well, it's probably the most expensive PS2 game that you can get. But it's also like uh it's very atmospheric and uh, honestly, I don't know much about the game other than it's themed around Japanese lore, kind of like it's
Mhm.
I don't think it's too far off from like uh Fatal Frame or something like that, but it's actually
Okay.
set in the past. It's not set in the present. And I don't know, like it's a From Software horror game that I've always wanted to play, and I feel like this year, if I'm going to make a goal for myself, this should be on the list.
There you go.
Number 4 for me is Dragon Force on the Sega Saturn. I hear nothing but great things about this game. I always have. I hear it's like one of the top games to play on the Saturn. Um, and it's
That's one that I've
different from,
wanted for a while.
is it?
Yeah.
It's like the only one of the only RPGs that I own on the Saturn. So I ever since I got it, I've been wanting to go and play
That's
it.
so
And I
weird.
just
The RPGs on the Saturn are so cheap.
yeah, really. And it's a working designs game too. So I love those games. They have so much style and personality. I love them. But yeah, it's very different too. But I hear that there's a lot of uh strategic elements in that game to help push it forward, and I love strategy, so I want to
Yeah.
give it a shot, see what I think.
Cool.
Number 5 is a game that I already started this year, but I want to go ahead and put it on my list to make sure that I finish it, and that's Fire Emblem Path of Radiance. I
Hmm. Remember you talking about
I
that? Yeah.
yeah, I enjoyed what I played of it, and um I got caught up playing other games, and I just haven't gone back to it, but I do want to finish it. So I thought if I just put it on this list, I will make sure that I finish it.
I can't remember if I asked you this last time when you mentioned that. Are you when you play a Fire Emblem? Are you somebody who, well, an older Fire Emblem because the new ones you can turn it off? Are you somebody who, if you lose a character, do you restart the battle?
I have to, man. I
Yeah,
can't I
I'm the
can't
same
let him
way.
go.
I hate any permadeath is just awful in games in
I'm already
general.
doing that on Tactics Ogre. Uh yeah,
Tactics
if
Ogre
I
has
lose,
permadeath.
it does, but it's a little bit more lenient. I'm talking more whenever you are trying to recruit a new character, and they're controlled by the computer, and they get themselves killed. I have to restart it and get it.
Fair enough. Okay.
But the
Uh,
permadeath is just like in Final Fantasy Tactics, where it has the numbers above their head. You still have 3
okay, so you can
turns
still
in order
save
to
them.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay. Fair enough. Lamont says those are great games. I have all of them, but need to play also.
There we go.
Cool, man.
Lamont can
Hell
play
yeah.
with me. You want to hear my 2 if I have time games?
Sure.
Grandia
Hmm.
is another one that I've
That
played.
almost made my list.
Did it? Well,
Hmm.
I've got that remastered version on the Switch, and
Yep.
I
Same.
feel like I need, if I have the time this year, I need to go ahead and play that. Uh and the last one is Pokemon XD Gale of Darkness. I love
The
Pokemon
GameCube.
on the GameCube, yeah. Is it Coliseum? Pokemon Coliseum was, I would say, one of the biggest influences for me for the Pokemon series and why I love the Pokemon series. It was like the second Pokemon game I ever played, and I just adored it.
Wow.
And I've been wanting to play Gale of Darkness for years since it came out, and I just never have. So I feel like if I can get to it this year, this might be the year that I go ahead and play that one as well.
Fair enough.
I
Okay.
love the
Cool.
whole purifying Pokemon that you do in those games. A lot
Sure.
of people don't like it. I find it kind of fun.
I haven't played the other one on GameCube, but I have it and I want to. So
It's such a good game. I loved it. It's so different from how Pokemon games were then. Different but the same, you know. Like it's still turn-based battle system, but you're not going town to town. There is a set storyline that you are following, and you are trying to rescue these Pokemon from this evil team, and you're trying to purify them because they're
yeah,
all dark, and you don't catch wild Pokemon, you steal them from the bad guys in battle. It's such a cool game.
cool. And we are at like at an hour 45 minutes or something, a little bit longer. At least for me, because I was on longer than that. But do you have anything else? Next month we are not going to we it's TBD. It's up in the air. So we'll figure it out and obviously when we record we'll talk about it then. But right now, do you have anything else that you want to go over? Anything you
No,
want to talk about?
nope, that's it.
How'd you feel about 2022 as a whole, gaming wise?
Gaming wise, I think it's going to be a memorable year for me just because of Elden Ring. I think
Sure.
that was such an impactful game for me, that it kind of overshadows all the rest of them. And it truly is a game that I have played all year, like all year. Every time I turn on my PlayStation 5, instead of looking for something to play, I'll play Elden Ring every time. It's just,
Yeah.
that is the game of the year for me for sure, just in terms of that. And I think, I always remember certain years by games that came out, like 2007 I remember is the BioShock year. That was the game that I loved and played and adored, you know. So 2022 will be known as the Elden Ring year for me.
Lamont says 2023 will be my gaming year. Man, there's a lot of good stuff coming in 2023. I
There
think
is.
both 22 and 23 are hitting ridiculously hard.
Yeah.
So it's pretty incredible. It's a good time to be a gamer. Bad time to be low on funds. So, but yeah, definitely excited to see what some of these new games have to offer. Cannot wait. Chat, thank you so much for hanging out with us. People who stopped in and hung out. People who popped in and had to go, and just all of you in between. Appreciate you always stopping by. Adrian, you got anything you want to plug or anything?
Mm, I am working on some things. I don't want to promise anything because I'm bad about that. But
That's fair.
my motivation for this past week off, I've thought about some things that I want to try to do, and I'm going to do what I can to make it happen with the time that I have.
Okay. Which of the games on your 5 for 2023 are you going to start with?
That's a good question. um since I already started Path of Radiance, I think I'll go ahead and finish that one out before I start any of the other ones.
Lamont says Adrian making videos. He's not going to say.
Possibly. It's not my focus, let's just say that.
He says he said that last year. Well, that's why he's not making promises.
Right. Exactly. But you remember last year I put out a video at the beginning of the year because I was all motivated, and that was the only one I did. So I don't make
Adrian
promises
also has
anymore.
a huge family and like tons of stuff going on. Like it's
Not a,
way easier for me to do this stuff regularly and consistently because I don't have like all these extra things in my life. So it's that's a big reason as to why you won't see as much content from him coming out. So it's not like because I know he wants to. It's just
oh, I definitely want to.
time is just
I just don't
always
have time.
that issue.
If I could somehow
He
get
says
my
8 kids, they can help.
yeah, right. If I could somehow get them interested and want to participate in it with me, it would be a lot easier to make it happen. But it's that is impossible. So I end up
You know
doing
Owen
everything.
would.
Oh yeah, he would be all about it. But again, I would have to do everything to make it happen.
That's
And
fair.
yeah. And
All
today,
right.
like I thought I would have some time to do something today. I had to replace a damn heating element on my dryer that just went out. It's like something is always breaking and I have to fix it. So
Well, dang.
life, man.
You can just relax with some Fire Emblem Path of Radiance then.
That's right. That's
Do
right.
that.
That's why I have
There
my
you
Steam
go.
Deck.
All right. All right. Well, in that case, I think we're gonna call it there. But yeah, if you're, as usual, if you are an audio listener, go check out our the channel on YouTube. You can see the video there. You'll also see an in progress list of my top 100 games of all time. I think I'm down to like 70 now on there, but I have through like 40 written. So I am like chugging along on that. It's just there's so much work to do on that thing, and it's like it's crazy. I want to throw this out there. I'm also looking to get a new I don't want to make it myself because it's going to be terrible. So if anybody has any suggestions for a new intro to the channel, I think it's about time for me to switch that up a little bit. Maybe one that's shorter than this
Shorter.
one.
I was
I
gonna
love
recommend
it, but it's
something
yeah,
shorter.
it's just a little bit long. And I'd love for it to be a little bit shorter. So if anybody has any suggestions or knows anybody that can help with that, I feel free to throw it my way. But yeah, thank you for all the support and everything. Let me know, let us know down in the comments what you loved out of 2022, what you're looking forward to in 2023, all that fun stuff. Like, comment, subscribe. You know the drill. Adrian, what else should they do?
Go ahead and keep on gaming.